good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable for the Certified Commercial Property Inspectors Association. We'll get started. I'm sure others will show up. It's the middle of summer, so I'm pretty positive people are away this time of year, but we got a nice small group, so I guess that'll give everybody an opportunity to help out wherever they need to help out. So again, good morning, and I'm going to open up and let the table be yours.
Morning, everybody. Julian here from Area Inspections out of California, Southern California, Riverside.
Riverside, awesome. We're coming to your area next year.
Oh, really? Nice.
We're gonna do a couple of trainings in February in Southern California somewhere. Working on finalizing the venue right now.
Oh, that's good news. Man, that's awesome. I'll be there for sure.
We're going to do the 3-day intro for sure, and we're talking about doing the 1-day guided field training as well.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That sounds exciting.
We hope to have all the dates finalized in the next couple of weeks. But right now we're going to be in 5 new locations.
Love it.
Arkansas, Georgia, Charlotte, Southern California, and Houston.
That's awesome.
Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up to get the ball rolling other than that awesome announcement? How's the market been?
Busy.
Good. I'm hearing the same thing around other people I've talked to. Maggie's on vacation this week, so I've been manning the phones, and we're getting a lot of calls from people needing some assistance with proposals and needing some assistance with getting their knowledge up to date. And so it's great to hear.
I picked up a few commercial this month as well.
Where are you getting them from?
So I've actually by pretty much referrals. I get a lot of referrals for commercial. I started advertising on Instagram a little bit here and there, but I want to say a lot of my business comes from referral base. I've done a couple of emails out to some local agents, commercial agents. That seems to work as well. A lot of that comes from referrals from what I get. I recently picked up a medical surgical office, small, and I think I was learning a few new things about doing clinics and medical offices, which was about the electrical side that I had to wrap my head around, which is a little different.
What was different with them?
So I was learning regarding how particular receptacles need to have a certain capacity for holding the plug in place, and there's a special electrical code that they use. I'm trying to remember the top of my head what it was. I did a lot of online research in regards to that, where the plugs need to have a certain weight, where you have to measure when you pull the plugs out. It's about 8 ounces of pressure that they got to hold. It probably goes a little beyond the scope of our work, but just looking for receptacles that are intermittent, things like that, and then also for battery backup systems on those type of faculties. It's a little different, and I try to acknowledge all that and just report those deficiencies within it, just to show them that those items do need to be taken care of annually. They have to be maintenance and maintained.
Yeah. So what did you use to help you gather the weight?
So they interestingly, they only sell one device online that actually measures this weight. It's a really cheap tool that even electricians, they kind of talk about it and say, well, it costs about $100 for the tool, but it measures the weight, and it's just really like a cheap piece of tool, but it comes really handy for that. But I guess no company wants to really be responsible for having something a defect on the tool that it's, it's really still in progress to find a proper tool to measure that. But they use that particular tool. You can find it on Amazon, I have to look up the name of that tool, and I can post it up on the
Yeah.
chat so that way everybody else can see. But really, just using that tool and getting it in there, and when you push it in, it gives you a weight, ounce per ounce, how much pressure that it carries, and then you can report that. But I being that I wasn't too I wasn't sure if that was in our scope of work. I just stayed away from it and just put a disclosure in the report saying, these receptacles require annual maintenance and checking from a specialist or a commercial inspector or a commercial electrician to really determine that, a contractor mainly who specializes in that. So I looked around, called a couple of electricians in my area. They're not really well rounded with that. It has to be somebody that really specializes for doing electrical on medical faculties.
So is that a pressure in the insertion or the removal of the plug?
On the removal
Okay.
of the plug, yes.
Because you could theoretically use a clamp-on fish weigher, like how you would weigh your fish. And they
Yeah.
do make, and you could put that on your tester, because you'd use a similar tool when you're testing the pressure of fire doors.
Ah, okay.
And you just simply use a fish weigh device. And but what's nice is, so what you're doing, that almost becomes, once you do that, a recurring work, where annually they have to have this certified by the Joint Commission. And with that, it's almost like when you go to the dentist and you leave the dentist and they won't let you out the magic doors until you've signed your next year's or your next 6 months appointment. You could almost leave that inspection with next year's inspection already scheduled, because you understand that concept, and they don't have to go hunting anymore. They'll just take whatever you want to charge, or whatever it is, because you're bird in hand. So that's great to find out.
Yeah, I started to really think about the possibilities of that and how to provide that service to my clients and even advertise for that. So I did a little research, but I figured I'd bring it up in this class to just get some more knowledge about it, and even for pricing it out and offering it as a service.
So
Well,
Julian,
yeah,
you're talking about the
that medical
spring.
center that you're at probably has a sister facility somewhere else, because they don't just own one center.
Right. Yeah, it was a large medical center. Next to it, a bigger faculty, big old medical hospital next to it. So hopefully that will bring me something in the future. I heard something else. What was that called? I heard somebody else speak.
So are you talking about the spring force tension?
Yes, yes. The
Yeah.
spring, the tension on the receptacle when you're pulling it out, there's got to be a specific weight measure on those receptacles.
Yeah, it's got to be, if it falls below 10 ounces, then you got to watch it. Below 4 is the lowest you want. And it's actually a fire prevention standard that's going by as well. But my question to that is that, as I walk around facilities, everybody's got their stuff plugged in. So are we gonna walk around and unplug stuff and check all these receptacles? I guess that's the issue, but you're absolutely right. They have to be checked.
Yeah. Yeah, to that order, Andre, what you would end up doing is that's what you would write in your proposal. You would go to that because what and this is what's so wonderful about commercial is every commercial inspection is a springboard to 4 or 5 or 6 other ancillary ways to make money in this business that don't involve you in a house. and so to that order, you could write in your proposal you're only testing receptacles that have nothing plugged in, or you're going to test receptacles 1 per room. If something's plugged in, I will only unplug orthoscopes, those things you put in your ear.
Because here's the thing, Rob, with all these receptacles, I mean, the receptacles in your house that you never use, spring force is just fine. It's the one you
Yes.
keep plugging the vacuum cleaner in and out of. That's the one that's going to go.
Yes. And that's where you've got to really set that stage with that facility manager that's soliciting you and say, okay, tell us what you want and we'll guide towards it. Because I would imagine, to your point, to Julian's point, because Julian asked about pricing, a lot of this is going to be how many times am I going to plug something into it?
Yeah, even if you just plug something in and leave it there, like my blender, I plugged it in 7 years ago. I never unplug it.
Yeah.
Okay. That one's going to be fine. It's the one that you're going, it's the in and out one,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so yeah. So I think it's a great springboard, and I think I'm going to do some more research on it, for sure. But I do think it's an opportunity for everybody to start thinking about what it takes to do other work that's just not the traditional inspection.
Well,
Thank
I
you,
think,
Julian.
Rob, what you're pointing at is exactly what I was been thinking for the past couple of weeks, is this whole idea of an annual maintenance inspection. What's the scope for each one? But if you can get 20 customers, okay, that you can get back in there every year, now all of a sudden you have a business instead of this dead stop thing, with
Yeah.
home inspectors. I'll never see them again. How do I get back in here every year
Yeah.
or every quarter,
Exactly.
whatever?
Exactly. And that recurring and to that order, that recurring revenue also provides you of value to your company, so that when it's time for you to create an exit plan, your company has value.
Yeah, otherwise it has no value
Absolutely.
because there's no,
Yes.
I have no bookings next week. The phone's going to start ringing on Saturday and Sunday, and I'll have work next week. But right now, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I've always, when I was running my company years ago, I always called myself self-unemployed. I could have bet on a Friday and I'd be unemployed for next week. But when I woke up on Monday, it was like, holy cow, I don't know how I'm going to fit this all in my schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I
Yeah,
really started wrapping my head around this, and I was already trying to think about, well, how can I offer this as a service for my clients who are vested in buying clinics or hospitals, or even offering it to different hospital services and advertising that. And I started to think about, well, what kind of limitations do I need to write up? What type of things that I need to put in my report, so that way I can protect myself, and of course just make it something that's not so heavy, but I think if I'm carrying some kind of licensing or contractor licensing, I might be able to carry the weight of that to be able to service that. So I think that was another thought that I came across my mind.
well,
Or even,
Julian, the thing is,
yeah.
I knew a doctor who was he was a surgeon, and he got this brand new equipment, plugged it in, and he's doing the surgery, and the electric came, the thing wasn't grounded properly. It went up one arm through the body to the other arm. His career was over in 15 seconds flat, okay, because of this issue. And so not only the medical centers, every single doctor office that's a satellite office not affiliated with a medical center or a hospital, they're plugging these devices and driving them around the office and plug them in the next room all day long.
Yes. And that's why the Joint Commission requires annual inspections on all these facilities. I did 5,800 electric panels in a medical facility years ago because they had to have annual IR camera inspections. So all these are great opportunities for you and you to start even building even a, I don't want to say sister company, but just growing your existing practice to include these services.
That's great. I finally submitted the report to them, and I put a disclosure, just a general disclosure in there. We did account on all of the receptacles that were on site in the surgical room and found multiple broken ones. And some of them were just covered up. So of course, limitations on reach on getting all of the receptacles. So yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed doing it, and I was really looking into that and thought that wow, this can be a stepping board for a service that I could provide. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll do some more research. You know, it's one of those things that it comes a great idea in a session like this, but then all of a sudden the life gets in the way and there's 7 other projects. But I'm going to do some more research. I got some time this afternoon. I'll do some research and at minimum I'll put something up on Facebook later on today of what I find. But I think Andre's right. I think there needs to be some idea and some concept of covering your assets when it comes to what you test, where you test, how you test, etc. But I do know that there is great opportunity for everybody doing inspections to look at medical centers. Thanks, Julian.
Yeah. Thank you, Andre, for your input. It helps out.
No,
Thank
thanks
you, Rob.
for bringing this to the table because this is just one thought along the same line of how do you get called again and again and again. That's what I want.
Yeah. It's like the old days of the Wild West where how do you know the train's coming? You put your ear to the rail and you can hear it for miles and miles. If we're not all together with our ear on the rail, that's what's so wonderful with these roundtables monthly is we're letting everybody else, this peer group know what's going on because we don't compete against each other. And so there's this opportunity to start building that wave. And I can't see anybody making a living off of doing these and going all over the country, but I could certainly see you, Julian, and in Riverside doing 50 or 75 clinics, and Andre doing his clinics where he's at, and etc. And so I think there's a great opportunity here, and that might even be something that I got to go to Nick with and see if we can't even create a complete standard.
Yeah, Rob, I don't want to go all over the country. I want to work in a 10-mile radius of my house, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to dominate where I don't have to drive far to.
I was talking to one guy who I did a home inspection for him, but he does construction. And here in Philadelphia, there's just a couple big hospitals, and they've got, big hospitals. They don't need my help there because they've got facilities management and so on. But they are outsourcing every single urgent care, satellite doctor office, construction, maintenance, inspection out. And so, I'm going to have lunch with the VP of the construction company that's doing all the construction for this hospital company. They're not going to do it to this level of detail. They can't.
No, they can't. And they also have to have third party corroboration on all of this. And that's really the key is trying to navigate through that to find out those opportunities for third party, because the people on this call, we are the third party.
Yeah.
I got a question, guys.
Yeah, Sean.
Okay, I'd like to know who you use for your insurance because I use Inspector Pro, Aaron, and he's telling me to stay away from medical hospitality field.
Yep. Yep. That's Inspector Pro has, Inspector Pro does have some limitations on what that is. And so that's where I'm going to reach out to our good friends over at Elite and see what they say about this.
So
Because
along
right
that
now,
same
Elite's the one that'll cover us for daycare facilities and food service industries. And,
So the
and
issue
so
there, I talked with those guys at Inspector Pro because they didn't want me doing commercial kitchens. They just don't understand what we're doing. I think that's the problem. When I explained to them that I wasn't going to be operating the kitchen equipment itself, that all I was going to be doing was looking at the floor, the electric, the fire protection, the fan, the HVAC supplemental, and the normal things that I do, it wasn't going to be a problem. But I explained to them, if I go into a factory, I'm not going to start using all their CNC mills and machines and cranes any more than I would there. So why would, I mean, I'm not going to use the tools. Like I'm not going to go to a surgeon's office or a dentist's office and start monkeying around with their stuff. Right? I'm just inspecting the box. I don't think they understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I've shared with our standard, and I've talked to them numerous times, and they're just not in the position to spend much time thinking about commercial as much because their bread and butter has always been, the thousands of clients that they have on the residential side, and we're kind of the morphing of that. But I'm gonna reach out to the insurance as well, and I'll report back to you guys.
Because it's about
Yeah,
spreading risk. If they've got 100,000 residential inspectors, they can spread the risk of the
Yes,
claims over. There's only 100 of us. It's not enough.
right.
yeah. The biggest thing I only had with Inspector Pro is they only gave me $100,000 coverage. That's not going to be a whole lot of coverage once I look down to it.
No, you're absolutely right, Kevin.
Yeah, with
Absolutely
what we
right.
do, all the insurance agents we've had and what I've had before is $1 million coverage because that covers everything, including the commercial side of it. But yeah, $100,000 coverage isn't very much even when you're looking at a residential house.
No, 100,000 won't cover some of the HVAC units you inspect.
Yeah, I recently got a couple of quotes even from MGA, just looking at $1 million coverage for new builds out here in California. That's what they want to see, even to step on site. They want to have that that form that you can prove that you're covered, and you got to sign a disclosure with them when you step on site, and you got to be alone when you go on property. Pretty interesting the way that is for new builds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have one builder here in town that's doing that. Richmond Homes. They're doing that. They just started doing that last year, and it was kind of a whirlwind because I get there and they just, they sandbag me and like, nope, you cannot get on site. We needed you to be here, 3 days ahead of time. Let us know you're going to be here, and it was really frustrating for the homeowner because they had 1 week to final close, and I was there 2 days to final close. So it was a really tight schedule for them, and it wasn't my fault. It wasn't their fault. It was the way the builder was acting.
Yeah. Don't think they don't do that on purpose.
Oh, I know. They hate us. They absolutely hate us, but for good reason they should hate us.
Yeah, that's in real estate, the only single party one-sided contract is new construction.
Yep.
If you were to buy a pre-existing home, between a buyer and a seller, those contracts are fairly balanced between the two parties. But when it
Yeah.
comes to new construction, they're written in a single voice to a single modus operandi.
Yeah. Just real quick, guys. So like I said, if you guys heard me before, the market in Springs is absolutely just dead. I've been calling and nobody's got any work. I reached out to one of my loyal commercial agents, and he doesn't have anything in town right now, but he's got one in Arizona, in Gilbert, Arizona. It's just southeast of Phoenix.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. Does anybody know anybody in the area that would be a good referral for him? I told him I would do some legwork and help him out because he's been a good referral source for me, and I want to make sure I pay it forward.
Dylan in Arizona Property Inspections, commercial
sorry, who?
property, Dylan.
Dylan. Okay, I did see him.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll shoot him the information. Thank you, Rob.
yeah. He's got 5 commercial inspectors on staff.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Anything else you have for us this morning?
Just marketing. That's just
Just
all I
marketing.
need. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I think the key is I think you can't let your foot off the gas pedal. I've always said got to go after the consumer. And I still believe that very strongly. The realtor is great, but they're fickle. But if you go after the consumer and have a good, well constructed website, to Julian's point when he said he's got these medical centers, you might find work that might not be transactional based. They're just looking for a commercial inspector because they need to have another need filled.
And Julian, how did you facilitate getting all that out? I mean, just did you email? Did you target? What'd you do?
So a lot of my business comes from referral base. I advertised, and this was since maybe 15 years ago when I first started. I've always advertised as residential / commercial.
Right, and that's
then
what
of
I do.
course, yeah, and so I've kept it the same for many years. And then I just learning marketing strategies as they change as I came along. I figured I had to separate them. And I'm actually just this past year, I started working on separating my website and getting everything just separated. Got a new residential website going now. But really, a lot of my business has just come from referral base by word of mouth or just going out to offices and making a visit to my local commercial offices, dropping off a couple of flyers, dropping off my business card, getting to know them, and just asking them, hey, if you need any help or if you need anything from me, don't hesitate to call me. I always try to make myself to be that person of contact if they need any kind of information from me or anything. And then I try to just really get to know who they are and just build a relationship with them. And that's really what's the way it's come along, is building those relationships. Have a couple of great commercial agents that work out of LA. And that's where I really got a lot of my business from, is from just building up those relationships and keeping in contact. And they'll send me referrals for residential, and then they'll give me a call every so often. And I think that's really what's happened. But now with moving forward, now that this is kind of like, you got to make your own path now with all of this new things that are unfolding. I really am now strategizing to just really focus on marketing commercial directly, and just, doing a 5-point touch with them, and, keeping consistent on it. I think it can create that flow. And then using the new strategies through Instagram, and even doing some just emails, doing mass emails. I use ISN to do all my scheduling, and they have a great mass email system on there where you can keep tabs of all your clients and just really send them constant, holiday emails and things like that. Any kind of marketing email system works. You really got to tag in with all of the 5 points on marketing, the 5 touches really, and just keep it going. So, but I seem to get a good response from that. And then after I meet new agents on site, and I don't hesitate to make new relationships with the listing agent, or even, anybody who else I see. I take pictures of the different names I see with all of the different commercial agencies, because it's pretty broad. There's a lot of stuff on the market that's for sale, but I think it's just really good getting out there and just being consistent with all of them. And I think that's what I'm seeing, what's unfolding nowadays.
Yeah, that's the problem going on here. We got a lot of listings, but nobody's buying. So we're all just kind of just dead in the water right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now's the time to beef up my marketing. But yeah, I just started this company, so I'm I'm trying to figure it out and kind of get my feet wet. Marketing's never been my strong suit, so I have to start learning that part of it.
Well, it's
Yeah,
always there's always one element that's not in your comfort zone that you have to overcome. And once you do
Yeah.
that, then everything will be good.
Yeah. I'm looking into an SEO, but man, that's expensive.
Well, that's where again, I'm gonna do a build your business next week with a website company.
Okay.
We've done logos, we've done sales and sales side, but now we're gonna do a website company. I think you can do it without spending a lot of money by just having a good website with good keywords and have it well crafted so that it can have the organic searches versus
Yeah.
the pinpoint searches, because organic's free.
Yeah. No, I'm actually in BNI. That's what I'm sitting in the car waiting for BNI to start. I've got a website designer in there, so she's done a great job.
Good.
We've got a Facebook guy that just does the 411 and the 719 to our area. That's all he does is market everything. So I've got help. But it's just getting that mass marketing out there is where I'm trying to get what I need to do. Trying to figure
Sure.
out what I need to do.
Sure. Well, I know you're close, so whenever you need help, let me know.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob.
I'm gonna switch lanes here a little bit. I know Raymond's on the call here. We are really excited to announce that this December we're going to do our first Spanish only 3-day class, right, Raymond?
That is correct. Good morning, everybody.
morning.
So if you've got staff members or if you've got desires for Spanish only on December 11th, 12th, and 13th in Fort Lauderdale, we're going to do our 3-day class, but it's going to be in Spanish predominantly. I'm sure it'll be Spanglish, but it's going to be Spanish driven. The slides will be in Spanish. I know there's a lot of need for that in Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico, and especially Florida. What kind of things have you done to the class, Raymond, that have changed it and made it really zing in Spanish?
Basically, it's bringing all the topics to a way that Spanish only speaking inspectors could understand, because in the translation from equipment especially, there are so many slang kind of words that they use. So it's more trying to accommodate those words to what it's a standard in English. We are an English speaking nation and we conduct business in English. But the reality is that in most of the states that you have a lot of Spanish speaking inspectors, they understand certain things a certain way. So you have to come down to their level so that we can bring the message correctly and tell them, hey, you need to understand an RTU unit, it's this. So you need to know that although you're calling it in Spanish this way, this is the proper name that you need to use, for example, in your reports. I guess that at some point, and I know that Puerto Rico is doing it already, they have Spanish reports. I don't see that happening here, but at least they need to have the proper words in order to prepare the reports.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. We haven't got it. We haven't pinpointed the venue yet, but we have the dates on the calendar, and it'll certainly be something that I don't see this being a one-off. I think this is going to be something that is definitely necessary. The Spanish-speaking consumer wants this and needs this.
One of the things is, Rob, that to my surprise, the 1-day class I've been actually talking about it, and it's something that attracts, and I'm talking about the one-day class in Spanish.
Yes.
It is something that has been really attractive around inspectors, and they're talking about it. So I'm working on that too, and see if we can bring a one-day class that will lead to the main class and have them do the 3-day after.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, yeah. I know
Raymond.
I've seen I've seen what you've done. So I know it's been a lot of work to not only translate words, but translate concepts and technology. So this is great. It's going to be an awesome class. So I just wanted this to be the place that we announce it, because coast to coast, I know I'm from Chicago. Our Hispanic or Latin market is enormous in Chicago.
But at least in the name of CCPIA, we are willing to come anywhere and just give the class in Spanish. So if you have a team and you have actually inspectors that are mostly Spanish speaking, it will be great just to introduce them to the Spanish class. I'm just saying because it has changed a little bit, the concept, and at least down here in Florida, it's something that attracts the inspectors because they want to know more, not necessarily get into the commercial, but they want to hear about it. They want to see what it is about, and that will bring them in at some point.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wanted to add to that, Raymond. I've recently, it's been very difficult because I speak Spanish, but I don't write it. So,
Okay.
so I've been able to cater to some portion of my market base for residential and even some commercial with churches. You know, a lot of churches out there that, you know, are predominantly Spanish speaking. And, you know, to convey the deficiencies and convey, you know, everything was a challenge for me. Up until recently, I just realized with all these new technologies, I was able to convert a document into Spanish for my report. And that was like a total game changer for me. But still reading through all the verbiage, you know, making sure everything's you got the right verbiage going through, you know, I mean, it's difficult. So even to have a resource like that online to just double check your verbiage on that is awesome. That I think that's a great resource to have, you know, for the future, you know, because conveying
Actually,
those
if you
reports.
need help and you want to send them my way, I'll help you.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, even if we can collaborate on just you know the way the way learning the verbiage is just wrapping my head around is a whole other thing that I got to get to know, even for commercial. I haven't done it yet for any real commercials, maybe one or two for churches, but that's, you know, it's almost it's kind of challenging, you know, being that I don't really fluently speak Spanish, but I'm open to it because there is a market out there for that in my area for sure.
Yeah. There's an enormous market across the country for it. My only recommendation I would have is I would put my proposal, if I was doing it, I would say that my official report will be produced in English, and a Spanish version will be provided as a courtesy, but it should not be relied upon.
Got it.
And then that way, if you mess up in the AI translation or whoever was your translator that didn't understand, to Raymond's point, the true vernacular, and they messed up how they translated it to be something similar, then you're covered.
Thank you for that, Rob. That's a great disclosure. Definitely, we'll put that in.
And even in translate in English, because I've done that enough times. Google Translator is fabulous, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, I've used it's called Doc Translator is what I've used before, and it converts the whole report. I just download the report and it'll convert the whole thing. So yeah, it's pretty
But
amazing.
if you don't read but Julian, if you can't read it perfectly, you
Right.
don't know how inaccurate it is.
Right, exactly.
And then somebody's going to read it and just start laughing at you.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you said this when really you wanted this, and what do you call my mother?
Yeah, and the thing is, to your point, guys, it's one word that can change the meaning of the whole report. So that's the thing. It's the slang that they use on the street, and then it's the real word. So if you put
Yeah.
something, a word that it's improperly translated, you might be saying something wrong, or you might even be saying something that sounds like a bad word. So, and it's just the way it is in Spanish.
Yeah. But I think it's fabulous because when you look at how our demographics of just our communities are, being able to have that flexibility and that opportunity, I think, is enormous. And I know Kevin's in and out, but this is his opportunity. You could go to an entire new market if you have the capacity to be able to do that.
No, that's one of those things that I've actually looked at because well, Rob, Colorado is a very large speaking Spanish company or state, so it's
Exactly.
huge. It's huge.
Exactly. I had family in town over the 4th, and they're like, "Where are we at?" I mean, I thought this is Colorado, and everybody was, it looked like I was down in Tucson visiting my daughter, because that's the rural area where I live here in Colorado is very Hispanic and very agriculture based.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of families moving in, and we have a family that just moved in, 2 houses down, and the kids speak English, the parents speak Spanish.
Yeah.
It's just the world we live in, and people are mad about it, but there's nothing wrong with it. Everyone deserves to play.
If you remember our business courses, when you're building a commercial business, these people own businesses, or they work in businesses, and they're people of influence at that business that want to be able to refer you, and you're a neighbor. And so being able to, I don't want to say cater, but to be able to properly service all
facilitate
communities is the way that you're going to grow a business.
Correct.
And so, I mean, Raymond and I are friends, but I'm just so tickled to be able to produce for the CCPA our first Spanish speaking version of our class is monumental. And so I would be remiss not to say that Raymond will also be in Orlando. So if anybody's thinking about being in Orlando and want to ask more questions, this is in October, of that Spanish speaking community. He'll be there to answer those questions for sure.
And I want to add also a little bit of knowledge here. It's interesting because I was quiet just listening to you guys, but and you might think it's not a lot, but I did 17 commercial inspections in the month of June. And it might not sound like a lot, but there's a lot of interesting properties out there, and I've done really huge properties. And the other thing is interesting that somebody mentioned about a maintenance program. I have over 25 properties that I have on a yearly basis kind of thing, and some of them on a 6 months basis. And interesting, most of them are Spanish speaking churches. So it's funny that you guys are talking about this, but I go there for a fee and I check on safety conditions. I check on water intrusion. I check on a couple of things that I have kind of a checklist, and I provide them with a report for a fee, and I have them on a 6 months or a yearly payment fee. So it's something that you guys should look into it, and not necessarily churches, but it could be commercial properties that you go in and you provide something that will call up their attention. Health, it's a little bit tedious because it has a lot of regulation, but you can still have places where they take care of the elderly, and you go in there, they need like emergency light inspections, they need to have a couple of certain things. that you can check and add into your report, and actually you can make some money out of it. And I'm telling you by personal experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That, you know, and fire door is just one of them. Like you say, whenever you have institutions that have medical centers, schools, hospitals, they have to have their fire doors inspected annually.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to need help with or like to bring up? No. Well, it doesn't have, we don't have to have a very long meeting if nobody's got anything. I think this is fabulous. Again, if you're gonna come to, if you're coming to Orlando in October, we will have a roundtable on that Friday night. There is a spot on our website to register for that. And you're not registering for any other reason, but we're trying to get a head count for how much food we buy. Because we are feeding the masses on that Friday night. And so we look forward to seeing all the commercial inspectors there. There's also a whole list of the various states that are squeaking in and getting those sessions approved for continuing education in your various states. Because I know the education team for InterNACHI does all of that. Otherwise, if nobody has anything, and I'll give it, I'll do that auction, then our next roundtable will be August 13th. I have that up already on the website, but it'll be August 13th. Stay safe, everyone. I look forward to seeing you on the next one, and maybe I'll see you guys wherever I'm at in the world. I know our next class that we're teaching is in, because we take a break this time of year and we write. I've got 4 courses coming out before the end of the year this year. Some of them really exciting courses coming out, and so that's where we've been heavily engaged. But we'll be back in Bloomsburg in December, the beginning of the month. Middle of the month, we'll be in Fort Lauderdale with the Spanish class. So we've got stuff to finish out the year if you need education. Otherwise, next year we're back on the road starting in January. We've got 12 dates between January and July.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rob,
guys.
always.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks,
Rob.
Rob.
Everybody.
Looking
Thanks,
forward to
Rob.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, be
Have a
safe
good
out
day,
there.
guys. Be safe.